Good morning, y'all, and welcome back to my channel. Thank y'all so much for tapping back in to see what I have to say. I promise y'all, it truly does mean the world to me. But with that being said, what we're talking about? We're talking about this regulatory regime shift, but also how it's going to affect our ISO tokens that are caught up in this whole wonderful storm of the new landscape of distributed ledger technologies here in America and globally as regulation is being laid. Okay, you guys, follow me on this. So, in this video, we have literally the SEC chair, Paul Atkins, okay? He's talking about so many different things in this video. He's going to talk about market structure. He's talking about how they're already ready, literally, to codify and lay market structure as soon as these bills make it through Congress. We're going to talk about stable coins and how it's interoperating within the system. Y'all follow me on this. This moves just like the law, the Genius Act that was codified into law. We now have comprehensive stablecoin legislation in America that is now law. Think about what that means moving forward for every single person that resides within the jurisdiction of America. And when it comes to stablecoins, period, globally, anyone who is minting U.S. pegged or U.S. equivalent stablecoins have to abide by this law. Understand truly what that means for some of the infrastructure players that are providing things like interoperability or programmability. Follow what I'm saying when it comes to Quant, you guys. But anyway, more or some from Paul Atkins. You guys, truly, when world leaders speak, especially people that sit over subsections of economies speak, and he is truly over the securities and exchange in this country, understand, listen to when powerful people speak and take in the words that are coming out of their mouths. Okay, you guys, here we go. We're going to hop into the first part of this interview, and I will be right back.
I wanted to offer you the opportunity, sir, to talk about your philosophy in this seat versus what came before you and the difference maybe between deregulation and just innovation.
Well, thank you very much. We are out to, obviously change direction at the SEC, and I think we've already done that here in my first 2.5 or so months at the agency. But we're moving away from regulation through enforcement and uncertainty in the markets, especially with respect to cryptocurrencies and digital assets in general. And we're looking to set firm, clear rules of the road for people who are operating in that environment so that innovators can innovate. They can rely on their advisors to tell them, which is the right direction and how they can build on solid ground.
Regulators, though, can't step in without explicit action from Congress. So when it comes to cryptocurrencies and the SEC, what actually comes next? What are your plans?
Well, so even before I got to the SEC, Hester Peirce, who's one of the commissioners, and she used to be my counsel when I was a commissioner back in 2002 to 2008, was in charge of a crypto task force that we're calling it, and they are focusing on making clear rules for the industry. So, for example, things like meme coins and stable coins that was just the subject of the bill that was passed yesterday are not securities, and before that was not necessarily clear. And so that's an example of how we're trying to put people at ease in the marketplace so that they can innovate and they can move forward with their plans and not have to look over their shoulder.
Now, y'all just heard everything from the sitting SEC chairman himself. Listen to how, I'm going to say bullish, he is on putting certain parameters in place so that the infrastructure and that the Web3 space can thrive. Innovation can thrive. Understand what those innovations are. Those innovations are things like HBAR. Those innovations are things like XLM and XRP and XDC and IOTA and Algorand. All of these wonderful ISO compliant, American-based companies, understand, they are building out literally the distributed ledger technology sector. That is what's happening right now, currently, as we speak today. And if you are a part of, let's just say, maybe we might not have a MAG 7, we might have like a MAG like 15. There's going to be several major technology providers throughout the realm of Web3. But think about it. Think about holding one of those MAGs right now today when like a HBAR is sitting at 26 and 27 cents. You have Quant that today is fluttering in the 120s. Understand what these infrastructure players are going to be when this law is codified, these rules are put in place, and the players begin to play. Okay? More from the SEC chairman's interview, and I will be right back.
When you were talking to reporters yesterday after the passing of this legislation, I believe you'll be at the White House today with the president when he signs it, you said the SEC is considering a, quote, innovative exemption from regulations to incentivize tokenization. What does that exactly mean, innovative exemption, and how long does this process take?
Well, it'll be an iterative process, and right now we are working on setting forth different things that can, again, make it clear for people in the marketplace, which way is the true north for them, let's just say, so that they don't have to worry about falling off the ditch and, falling into the ditch and getting in trouble with the regulators. And so part of that will be working with our colleagues at the other regulators, and especially the Commodity Futures Trading Commission. But let's just say that as we go forth and as we interact with the marketplace, we've had 5 roundtables now looking at various aspects of the digital asset space. So we are working hard at coming up with guidance and rules, and we'll use every tool in our toolbox to help people understand what is, how to stay out of trouble, basically.
Chair Atkins, one of the big concern is that a number of the stablecoin issuers are not going to have the sufficient number of hard currency reserves on hand to really back those notes in a way that is as advertised. How are you prepared to really counter that? Is that something that's in your list of concerns that the SEC is going to be monitoring?
Well, one thing that I think the new to be signed bill into law makes clear is that these are not securities, and it's the banking regulators who are going to be looking after them. And I think that's appropriate because of the role that stablecoins play, and I think will play in the future. Because part of the real promise, I think, of distributed ledger technology is immediate payment as part of the process of transactions. So settlement coming down to, in effect, almost T+0, and to do it on the trade date. And that will make things much more efficient in the marketplace, save money, reduce risk in our financial system. So stablecoins are in the realm of the bank regulators, and they will look after to make sure that there is adequate and, as advertised, adequate backing to the stablecoins.
Well, speaking of 401k retirement plans, would you allow crypto into retirement plans? Because the Financial Times is reporting that we could see an executive order from the administration as soon as today allowing alternative investments into retirement plans.
Well, again, I think that, disclosure is key, and that people need to know what they're getting into. So things like that are not for everybody, and so especially in retirement plans. So I look forward to whatever may come out from the president as far as direction goes. But we need to address it because there is a demand out there for these sorts of products, and the government should not stand as a blocking agent for those sorts of things. But we need to enable it in the proper way with proper guidelines and proper disclosures.
Now, as you can see, they have a clear vision. They know where they're going. They understand that the Clarity Act that is now being sent to the Senate to be voted on. Now, whether, like I say, whether the Senate go ahead and let it go through as is, or if they do some restructuring, couple some other things to it and send it back to the House, no matter which way it plays out, it's in motion. And it's in motion bipartisanly. It's in motion bipartisanly because we have global standards going live. We have internet protocols going live that touch distributed ledger technologies. So now we have to get laws in place to be in alignment with the movement and transactions of the fourth industrial revolution, which is blockchain and distributed ledger technologies, being followed very quickly by the fifth industrial revolution, which is AI. And this is the first time in human history that we've had two industrial revolutions converging at the same time. Understand, with every industrial revolution, there's always a boom in whatever industry that is. And that boom equates to ungodly amounts of money being made for those key players of that industrial revolution. And when you are investing in the infrastructure, when you're investing in the rails in which, think about it like this, like I said about the railroads and I want to say that was the Trump actually signing the Genius Act into law. Think about it like this. When you are one of these infrastructures providing the railroads, you're providing the railroads for all of the trains to flow over them. Multiple different types of trains, for multiple different reasons all over the country and the world. Whether it's securities, whether it's commodities, whether it's cash, whether it's CBDCs, whether it's stablecoins, whether it's e-money, whether it is tokenized deposits, all of these different things. Whether it's the supply chain of a corporation or business, whether it is the tracking mechanism of AI, all of these things being ran over the infrastructure, the rails, that's being laid out by the layer ones and the interoperability solutions that are being put in place to be regulatory compliant so that countries, central banks, multinational corporations, commercial banks, and any other corporation or business within the jurisdiction of these companies that are codifying law to actually reside and participate in. Truly see the infrastructure that's being laid out and understand when they say things like programmability, that's being tied, when they're saying things like interoperability, that's being tied directly back to ISO 22739, which is tied back directly to ISO TC 307. Truly understand what is truly being laid out right in front of our faces, you guys. I really thank you. I truly, truly thank you for really tuning in and really tapping in. If you made it all the way through this whole video, type in clarity. Because once that Clarity Act is passed and the SEC and the CFTC finally gets clarity on what's a commodity, what's a security, and who's governing over what, it is going to make the distributed ledger technology sector boom like nobody's business, because you now have the infrastructure for regulatory institutional money to start flowing through the networks, okay? Until the next time, y'all already know, I truly appreciate y'all. You've made it all the way through. Type in clarity, and I know, for real, y'all, bottom of the heart. Peace out.